The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and good afternoon to all the attendees, and welcome to this webinar provided by SolarPower Europe and EuPD Research. The topic of today's webinar is private households in the context of digital energy solutions based on the example of Germany. And here we will look at various aspects of how digital solutions can have an impact on the energy usage for private households, such as through smart metering and for heating and mobility. But before we start, I would like to highlight that this exclusive webinar for SolarPower Europe members is organized to build up to our Digital Solar and Storage Conference, which is taking place on December 4th and 5th in Munich, in Germany, which we really look forward to. We have a number of exciting sessions with very distinguished speakers and panelists. So here you can have overview of the final agenda that we built up. In the first session, a brave new energy world for everyone will be guided through the revolution that is taking place in the domain of energy, and which is connected to concepts such as sector coupling. We will then have a look of how innovative business models and discuss the opportunities of empowering customers through digital solar and storage technologies. We will have a number of very relevant speakers, including top CEOs from E.ON, from Hudson Clean Energy. We have ABB, DNVGL, Cap Inside, and so on. And during the second day, instead, we'll have number of more interesting panels, which will cover different issues such as the role of blockchain in the energy transition. So if you wanted to discover the cutting edge blockchain related business ideas around this topic, you definitely cannot miss this. Also, we will be able to look at how the future utility will look like in the energy transition and what are the challenges of utilities. I think this is going to be really a great panel on how utilities can reinvent themselves and their business models. And then we'll also have a number of exciting discussions on artificial intelligence, the role of utilities, solar cities and infrastructure, and so on. So I invite you to have a look at more information on our website, and also you can find the agenda in the handouts that you can see on your right-hand panel, together with the slides of today's webinar. Yes, so after this introduction, I would hand it over to today's speakers of the webinar, which are Saif Islam and Julian Lückerath, both from EuPD Research. So Saif and Julian, the floor is yours, and we can have a short Q&A after this session is concluded. Just 1 second before we start, some housekeeping rules. There is a panel on the right-hand side in which you can type your questions during the presentations, and we'll try to address all of them at the end of the presentation. And for your information, you can share the slides now. You can find them in the handouts, but they will also be shared afterwards, and there will be a recording available on our website. So please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our today's webinar about private households in the context of digital energy solutions based on the example of Germany. And first, I want to thank you, Raffaele, for the introduction, and thank you as well to SolarPower Europe for organizing this webinar. We will be speaking on behalf of EuPD Research and the International Battery and Energy Storage Alliance, IBESA, which is a global platform for everyone active in the field of energy storage. And for more information, please go to ibesalliance.org. And now I will start with our today's topics. First, I will introduce you to our company. Then I will give you a short introduction of today's overall topic. In the course of this webinar, my colleague Saif will provide you with market data and facts, which all are based on the current study, the end customer monitor for the German market. The next point focuses on electric mobility. Current numbers of registered electric and hybrid vehicles are shown, and Saif will also give a forecast. In chapter E, I will present some graphics from a brand new study. The study is about heating in Germany. First, I will talk about the current inventory of heating systems in Germany. Then I will provide you with a potential analysis as well as a buying process for heat pumps. And last but not least, I will refer to smart meters. This is more or less the core of today's webinar, because through metering, digital energy solutions become realizable. And at the end of our webinar, we are going to summarize the most important facts that we have learned today. So, about us, some information. We are a market research institute from Bonn in Germany, and we have been active in the field of photovoltaics for 18 years now. One of our strengths is exclusive services like customer satisfaction analysis, market analysis, and storage workshops. Furthermore, we provide PV reports from different points of view. For example, from commercial end customers or from PV installers. Another one we will see today highlights the German PV market from the point of view of private end customers. And we also grant certifications as the top brand PV in markets all over the world. And here you can see some of our references. This first slide serves as introduction of today's topic, digital energy solutions. And simultaneously, it is a bit like the table of content we've seen before, because Saif and I will give insights in all those technologies we see in this circle. Typically, our webinar audience is made up of PV and electrical energy storage experts, because in general we talk about those topics. And today I hope I can also say welcome to professionals from the other sectors, from the heat sector and the mobility sector. And I want to say hello especially to metering specialists, because through metering we might get digital and smart. Yeah, when do we act smart? We act smart if we combine all the technologies in a useful way. And for that purpose, metering alone is not enough. What we need is the digital data, and the next step, a way to communicate, is crucial to send the right impulse to the right actor. As a result, we can act in a smart way, and demand side respond with all technologies we see in the circle is possible. And now Saif will start with the current data from private end customers.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Special hello from me as well, and massive thanks to SolarPower Europe for once again setting up this webinar in the forefront to the digital solar and storage event, which will take place, as Raffaele mentioned, next week, 4th and 5th of December. So whoever hasn't registered, please do so. Be happy to see you there. It's going to be a lot of input. A lot of people came last year, and I think everyone knows about the benefits of this great event. So as Julian mentioned, I would like to give you some end customer data. We're known for our surveys on the major players in the market, meaning manufacturers, but obviously also installers and end customers. Today we're going to speak about the end customers. So the basis for our webinar today is the End Customer Monitor 8.0. This is obviously a report that we've now been doing for the 8th consecutive year. And in this, we survey owners and planners of PV systems. These are all members of the PV Forum, as you can see on this slide. If you don't know the PV Forum, it's an exchange platform for for PV owners and people who are interested in the whole technology, where they can exchange opinions and details. And with this, we try to depict the buying process. So have a look at the motives for PV and energy storage. We have a look at brand awareness, which brands are chosen, which were the reasons why these brands were chosen. And this year, we also included the topics of energy management and electrical mobility. All participants, well, that was the core requirement, that all participants in the survey had their system installed from 2016 onwards, or are planning to install within the next 12 months. We chose these people because they have more opportunities to speak about more current topics. So people who had their system installed about 10 years ago, they might not be as current as the people that we chose for this survey. So, as I mentioned, any information you need on the Endcustomer monitor or reports, please get in touch with us. We're happy to provide you with all the information you need. I'll dive right in, having a look at power consumption. As you can see here, a large majority only partly consumes the generated electricity and feeds the rest into the grid. That's 82% of the survey respondents. Only 18% in total either consume the whole generated electricity or feed it all into the grid according to the EEG, the German Renewable Energy Law. The largest share of those who only partially self-consume consume merely between 20 and 40%. So that's the graph on the right-hand side, as you can see. This is still a reasonably small amount, but it has been growing over the last few years. We have been seeing a growing trend here. We asked all the respondents of the survey which applications storage providers should additionally offer, and more than half said that emergency power is key for them. In the spirit of today's webinar, speaking about digital solutions, you can also see that the two following features are smart management of usage and intelligent charging. So here you already have some digital applications that are highly interesting to German end customers. Looking further down the line, looking at other digital applications, you can also see that charging the electrical car, smart home connection, and internet connections play an important, if not as an important role as emergency power. So the next slide, please. There we have it, sorry. So this slide basically shows the huge potential for additional technologies, as 69% of the owners of the storage system don't have any of the other listed complementary technologies, such as infrared heating, power-to-heat devices, such as CHP units, or wall box. So as you can see here, nearly 70% are looking into these kind of technologies but still don't own anything. So if you're a provider of one of these three, then get going and start attacking the end customer, because they are highly interested in using this. And next slide, please. Slide 16, that would be. Okay, thank you. So more and more suppliers, mainly energy storage manufacturers, but also utilities or larger utilities and manufacturers who purely concentrate on digital solutions, already offer community and cloud solutions for their customers. At the moment, we count roughly around 20 providers. We released a report, or we published a report on cloud and community solutions mid-year, something around just before Intersolar or Smarter E. We had 15, we compared 15 suppliers and their offers. At the Smarter E, we already found another handful of other suppliers who were offering cloud and storage, cloud and community solutions. As you can see on the left slide, or on the left graph, merely 12% of the survey participants already registered for such a community. However, this is a further increase from our last year's survey. And on the right graph, you can see that for more than half of the customers, the cloud and community offer was essential when choosing the storage provider. So this just shows that it is still a growing trend with the cloud and community solutions, but it will play an important role because already half of all the customers are looking at these kind of digital ways to use energy storage to create a virtual power plant or be part of a virtual power plant. So this is something that we're going to observe in the future, and we're highly interested in seeing how this trend develops. So now we'll have a quick look at e-mobility. As I mentioned beforehand, e-mobility was also a big part of this year's survey. As you can see here, dark blue and lighter blue account for 45% of the survey participants who are planning on buying an electrical vehicle. The 10%, the dark blue column, is for people who are already planning on buying one by the end of 2019, and 35% have the intention, but not in the foreseeable future. However, they are still interested in purchasing an EV. More than a third, 38% in this case, categorically reject electrical cars. Okay, that's something we'd have to have a look at. What are the reasons for this? But still, those with a buying intention, more than 3/4 also want to purchase an own charging station. This is on the right graph. And this basically shows or increases the importance of energy storage. So everything goes hand in hand, and the potential for wall boxes and charging stations is huge in this case. Plus, it further increases the effect of energy storage. So, and then I'll just give you some highlights from this slide. As Raffaele mentioned, you can download the presentation so you can have a look at this in quiet. And if you have any questions in the end run, just let us know. But German federal government is trying to further promote electric cars. The target of 1 million EV registrations has been set for 2020. German government has initiated various measures. On the one hand, there's a buyer's premium of 4,000 euros for any electric or hybrid driven cars. However, up till now, or roughly mid-2018 from the survey, only around 70,000 requests for this buyer's premium were handed in. Furthermore, there's a support scheme with a total budget of 300 million euro. So this should also increase the numbers of EV registrations. Plus, the government is offering a tax exemption for a period of 10 years, which is obviously also going to further promote electrical cars. However, I spoke about the target of 1 million EVs by 2020. We're still far behind when it comes to that. At the moment, or by the end of 2017, to be precise, there were around 110,000 electric or hybrid-driven cars on the road, or at least registered. However, as you can see here in the far right column, around 80% of all registrations are still for hybrid cars and not completely electrical-driven ones. And the next slide I'll show just basically shows how small the percentage of electrically powered cars in Germany actually is. So you can see at 0.28% of all cars on the road as of January 2018, it was around 46 million passenger cars, and only 0.28% of those are electrically powered. To draw a quick comparison to Norway, one of the forerunners in regards to EV, in 2018, we checked the statistics early October. There were roughly 10,000 new registrations for electrical cars in Norway. 45% of all of these were electrically driven, and the number goes up to 60% if you also count plugins. 2,000 of all those were actually Teslas. So this is a market, well, Germany would like to model their development based on the Norwegian market, but there's still a long way to go for Germany. And last but not least, I'd like to give you a small forecast. As you can see, in 2018, the statistics we found online, the forecast for new registrations is roughly 200,000, which obviously is a great increase if you could see that there's only 110, or there were 110,000 by the end of 2017. A lot of estimations show that there will be a significant increase of the registrations in Germany, but it is interesting to see that we will obviously clearly miss the target of 1 million by 2020. This forecast shows around 885,000 systems. However, with a bit of luck, we might manage to break through that target by 2021, but surely by 2022. According to this forecast, there will be nearly 1 million registrations from 2020 to 2022 alone. So obviously the potential for electric cars is huge. There's still a lot that both the government and also obviously the industries have to do. And for now, I'd like to give the microphone back to my colleague Julian, who will tell you more about our findings.
Yeah, now I will provide you with data from the German heat sector. And the following slides are from a study we will publish next week, actually brand new stuff. And the study will be audible in German. Of course, today's slides are in English. In my opinion, this study is a real superlative because the data are based on an unbelievable number of 10,428 surveyed households, what makes this report very valuable and representative. Among other things, the study will answer you the following questions. What heating technologies are currently used in Germany? Or which renewable technologies are possible choices? Due to the focus on heat pumps, the study contains potential analysis regarding this technology. It also highlights the buying process of heat pumps. Let's come to the inventory. This pie chart contains a lot of information, and to get a better overview, I'll try to divide it into 3 categories. We can generate heat directly through fossil fuels. What is category 1? The second category is electricity. In this case, we don't know the primary energy. It might be generated by fossil fuels and or by renewables. It mainly depends on the electricity mix in the grids. And the third category is generating heat directly through renewables such as solar thermal or biomass. As we can see, the German households are mainly heated by fossil fuels. Nearly the half heat by gas. Another 20% uses the technology of transforming oil into heat. Today, I will not go into detail regarding the local or local district heating, but if we count it into the first category, already 84% of this pie chart is already described. Electricity is used in 7% of all cases, and only 3% heat pumps are currently installed in Germany. This category is partly generated by renewables, and another part comes from fossil fuels. The last category, which is 100% renewable, is biomass, the pellet heating, and solar thermal. Both technologies only account for 3% each. And to summarize this slide in one sentence, renewable heating technologies are obvious minorities in the German heating sector. And that's the reason why I will talk now about the potentials of heat pumps. Let's start with the following question. Do Germans know heat pumps? And the answer is, unfortunately, not really. However, there is awareness in the society. As you can see in the chart, plotted in dark green, the majority of 60% have heard about it. This is an indication that people are talking about this topic, but it seems to become more important. An additional 25% of the surveyed people even know the basic functionality. The knowledge level is not exactly determinable, but they at least seem to know that heat pumps use their surroundings to generate heat. A small share of 6% is real experts. Aside from its function, they also know brands, providers, and subsidies. 9% are not familiar with heat pumps. Structure of owners of a heat pump. This one is dealing with the owners of heat pumps, and I want to explain the graphic shortly. The pie chart on the left shows the opinion about the purchase of a heat pump of all 10,428 surveyed households. As you can imagine, we received a lot of different answers regarding this question, and the major part is not interested or not familiar with it at all. Another 90% are interested in the product or would even like to purchase a heat pump. But for this graphic, only on the right, only 4% of all surveyed households are determining. Exactly those 4% are already own the product. In total number, the owners make up a value of 388. And half of the currently installed heat pumps are older than 5 years. The share of newly installed heat pumps over the last 5 years amounts to a little more than the half. 11% of all heat pumps were installed in the last 12 months. And we see an annual increase on this value. And attention now to all the professionals from the heat sector, because this slide provides you with direct potentials of heat pumps in Germany. On the left with you the pie chart from the slide before again, but this time we do not focus on the ones who already own a heat pump. Now we throw an eye on those who are obviously interested in this product or already monitor the offers and would gladly like to purchase a heat pump. Almost 19% of all surveyed households can imagine purchasing a heat pump on a short-term basis. A huge amount of 65% of them can even imagine purchasing a heat pump within the next 2 years. This last chapter is all about smart meter. And first, I want to declare what a smart meter is. And smart meter could be mentioned as intelligent metering system. And metering itself is an old topic because all households are equipped with meters. And the only purpose of those meters was to count your electricity consumption to finally drop your electricity bill. Now this analog technique is becoming digital. And digital values can support us by analyzing our consumption data. For example, in combination with a timestamp, we can plot our entire load profile. But all this analysis is not sufficient to become really smart. One vital thing is that we have to add a digital communication gateway to the digital meter. From then on, we can name the digital meter smart meter. An extensive layout would be made up of an in-house communication as well as an off-site communication. And the in-house communication allows us to plot separate load profiles for individual loads or generators, such as heat pumps, electrical energy storage devices, and PV systems. The off-site communication enables an automated data transfer to the meter operator. The following slides are dealing with the German legal framework, and therefore we can derive the potentials for smart meters in Germany. The current law called Metering Point Operation Act says that electricity consumer and operator of PV systems are obligated to install a smart meter. We have to differentiate a bit because the obligation to install a smart meter for consumers depends on their annual electricity demand. All consumers with more than 10,000 kilowatt hours annual electricity demand have to install a smart meter from last year on. As a second group, consumers with a demand between 6,000 and 10,000 kilowatt hours per year should install an intelligent meter starting with the installation in 2020. This is the second arrow. Furthermore, the obligation to install a smart meter affects all operators of so-called controllable interruptible loads. And controllable interruptible loads mean all electronic devices such as electrical heat pumps, and electronic heaters like storage heating devices, charging stations or wall boxes for electric mobility, and electrical energy storage systems. And in the case of PV systems, the obligation to install a smart meter depends on the PV system size. All PV system operators with more than 7 kilowatt peak installed capacity have to install a smart meter. And this obligation is independent from the installation date of the PV system. This slide is about optional installations of smart meters. And of course, there will take place optional installations of smart meters in the future. And one main driver is obviously saving money. For example, by increasing the value of consumed self-generated electricity, what means less buying in of electricity from the utility, from the grid. All in all, the last two slides highlight that there is a law and therefore a huge amount of participants will have to purchase and install a smart meter. But what we also saw is that it is a process. For example, the group of consumers with an annual electricity consumption over 10,000 kilowatt hours have to install a smart meter by law, but it will take around about 7 years till all of them really will have installed it. Nevertheless, the market potential for smart meters is tremendous. The shown graphic shows how many consumers will have to install smart meters on basis of the current law. Cumulatively, it is a number of 3.5 million. The biggest share is consumers with an annual electricity consumption between 6,000 and 10,000 kilowatt hours. This group will have to install smart meters from 2020 on. During a period from those 7 years I mentioned, more than 1.8 million intelligent meters will be installed alone amongst this group. As I told you at the beginning of the topic, there are 3 groups which will have to install smart meters. The consumers with a specific annual energy demand, other are operators of controllable interruptible loads, and the third group are operators of PV systems. The first group we saw on the slide before, and this one provides you with the market potential of the other 2 groups. At the end of 2017, around 1.2 million PV systems with a capacity of over 7 kilowatt peak were in operation in Germany. As a result, all of them will have to install a smart meter from now on. Amongst the technologies for controllable interruptible loads, there are currently 1.6 million electronic heaters. Most of them are night storage devices, as well as 0.8 million heat pumps, around about 91,000 energy storage systems, as well as 18,000 charging stations or wall boxes. Let's come to the costs of smart meters. And I do not want to expand the whole graphic. The essential fact is that there are price caps, and the costs are depending on the level of electricity consumption and or power generation capabilities. Let's focus on the example of a group which is obligated to install a smart meter in the future. This is, for example, a generator from 7 to 5 kilowatt. You see in the middle of this graph, and this group will have to pay a maximum price for its smart meter of 100 euro per year. All in all, the prices are not too high because as a result of smart metering and demand response, you will save money elsewhere. Now I'm going to summarize the most important facts that we have learned today, and the summary is more or less all about the smart meter because this is the core of digital energy solutions. And in the course of the Law Metering Point Operation Act, The smart meter rollout will likely start next year, and therefore a massive potential of around about 6.5 million devices is generated in Germany. The market potential will even grow in long term because more and more prosumer will emerge. A prosumer is a mix of producer and consumer, what means that consumers will generate their electricity on their own. And the main driver for prosumers to install a smart meter or an energy management system is to raise their consumption of self-generated power. Others who want to benefit from time of use tariffs, therefore a digital meter in combination with the communication gateway is crucial. That's it for today. Back to Raffaele, thank you.
Thanks, Julian, and thanks, Saif. I think we got a lot of interesting information and valuable insights. I think we still have some time for a Q&A. I see that some of the participants already sent some questions, and well, I could start off by a question regarding the end customers monitor, which raised some attention. There is like more than one question, in fact, but I think we can be sum up by asking: it is realistic that the German PV owners really need a storage system to provide emergency power? We have been talking about an outage of 15 minutes per year, so is this really an issue?
Yeah, well, in our eyes, it doesn't make much sense. As you mentioned, there are really rarely power outages. We must have read the same statistic, Raffaele, because according to the Federal Network Agency in 2017, the power was out for a total of 15 minutes in Germany. Only reasonable explanation we could think of why the German end customer is so interested in emergency power is an overdrawn concern for safety. In terms of emergency power, energy storage makes probably more sense in remote locations in countries such as Australia or even the USA. But to be fair, this has been the case in the last few years. We've been surveying end customers. So for whatever reason, the German end customer is highly keen on emergency power. So you can question it or not, but it definitely makes sense to offer this to your customers.
Right. Thanks for the clarification. We have one more question about mobility. In 2010, Germany set the target of 1 million electric vehicles for 2020. Until 2020, the estimates of registered electric cars is only 500,000. How is it possible that the number of registered electrical cars jumps to 1.5 million by 2022?
Yeah. Well, I spoke about some of the measures that the German government is going to introduce or has already introduced. Definitely the tax benefits and the subsidy schemes play an important role. Furthermore, numerous German car manufacturers have announced new and improved modules by 2020 or from 2020 onwards. So this will obviously cause a push within the market. Looking further into the future, not only 2020 or 2022, as of 2020, as such, the first PV systems will run out of the feed-in tariff. Around 2025 to 2030, there's going to be more and more systems that can generate electricity but don't benefit from any kind of feed-in tariff. So this will obviously push the potential for energy storage massively, and which in turn will also cause an increase or for the potential of electric cars. We think that, or we have also seen statistics that give a completely different number, so even higher than what we just projected today. We'd like to be conservative and use this statistic, but in general, the German government has already introduced the right measures, and they're going to bear the fruits from that in the future.
Right. Connected to that, we have a question regarding buyer's premium up to 4,000 euros and the tax exemptions. Do you think this will be sufficient to bridge the price gap between ICE vehicles and EVs or hybrids? And what else is needed from a regulatory perspective, in your view?
Well, first, it's definitely a first step. If it is the right step, or if it's going to be the final step, that's left to be seen. From the regulation point of view, I think the tax exemptions are highly important. Similar to energy storage. Energy storage would have a massively higher push in Germany if there were further tax exemptions. So we think it's going in the right direction, but for us, it's still too early to say if it is the only step that we need to improve the markets for EV and storage.
Right, thank you. We have a question about heat now. 11% of all heat pumps purchased in Germany were installed in the last 12 months. Is it possible to draw a conclusion on how many new buildings were equipped with heat pumps?
Yes, it is possible because according to the Federal Society of Heat Pumps, every third new building is being equipped with heat pumps nowadays. And in 2017, there were round about 200,000 new constructions in Germany, and 1/3 is that the result is 66,000 heat pumps were installed on new buildings, and that's quite a good value. And the ENEF, this is the German energy saving regulation, is one of the most important drivers for this current value of 1/3 of the new buildings. But you see, there is still potential because 2/3 didn't install heat pumps in 2017. Yeah, this equals an ideal potential of more than 130 heat pumps, 30,000 heat pumps for new buildings per year. But last year, I think it was around about 66,000, 70,000 heat pumps on new constructions.
Right, it seems a very interesting market then. One question on the additional features of battery storage. Only 1/5 of respondents think that storage should provide smart management of energy usage as an additional feature. Do you think this is because of a lack of awareness about what digital solutions could provide?
Possibly, yeah. We have to, as I mentioned beforehand, these are members of the PV Forum, the German website, so they are a little bit more educated in regards to energy storage and PV solar than I say that the average German citizen. But yeah, I think the industry itself has to do more to raise awareness for these kind of features and these kind of possible applications for energy storage. We saw some interesting stuff at the Smarter E, but I think in general it's still very small. It's still a niche market. But once the market gets a further push, as I mentioned, with first systems running out of the feed-in tariff, I'm sure awareness will grow, and by then we probably have even more applications or possible applications for energy storage.
Okay, we have one question on the community and cloud solutions that you talked about before. You mentioned you see a growing trend of respondents who use this type of solutions. What could be a barrier to a more widespread diffusion?
I think, so what we did in our survey is we had a look at 15 suppliers or 15 providers of cloud and community solutions from an end customer point of view. And there is still so much confusion regarding the prices, the benefits, what do they have to, any kind of tax exemptions, tax regulations. And so I think for the digital customer, this makes more sense than the average German citizen because they're already more and more involved in this. On the other hand, I think cloud and community storage is still a very small niche in all the compared to all the other applications that we spoke about today and all the other applications that are still possible for energy storage. So I think with time this will grow more and more. The German customer is becoming more and more digital and also wants to buy and sell energy and use his energy storage system to be an own little utility. But this is going to take time, and as you mentioned, I think the awareness has to grow. And again, here it's my appeal to the industry to raise awareness for all these kinds of applications and further benefits.
Right, because at the end of the day, this market is still on its infancy phase. Makes sense.
Compared to other technologies, obviously, yeah.
Okay, we have a number of questions regarding smart meters. So first question is communication via internet the only option for when it comes to smart meters?
No, it is not the only option. As I mentioned, the communication takes place in-house and off-site, and especially the in-house communication is possible in various ways. Besides the Ethernet or the Internet, there is, for example, the power line communication, and the benefit is that you can use your already installed 230-volt power lines for the data transfer. And there are also wireless technologies such as Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or others. And the off-site communication between you and your energy service provider may also work, for example, through a mobile phone network.
Right, so there's a number of ways to interact in this way. Yeah. A couple of clarification questions that came up. Who pays for the smart meter? Is it the utility or the customer?
We're not 100% sure about that. We'll check that again, and we'll send the information to you, Raffaele, so you can pass it on to participants. Sorry about that. Still quite unclear on this case.
Okay. So yes, please get back to us, and we will make sure to send it over to the participants. Another clarification on the smart meters issue is the obligation in Germany to install meters is for smart meters or only digital meters? Do you know about this, and can you elaborate on this?
I just know that it is for smart meters.
Okay, thank you. Could you maybe please elaborate on the certification obligations for the smart meters, if you could get back to this a little bit?
Again, here we'll have to better check, so not to give you any wrong information, we'll put it down in writing. So I think it's a little bit complicated to explain here in a short time, but we'll send it through to you as well, Raffaele, and then you can pass it on to all the participants.
All right, thank you.
And if anyone has any questions, obviously you can get in touch with us, then we can directly answer these questions as well.
We have one question about heat pumps. How do you estimate the potential for heat pumps in the renovation segment? New build is easy.
I'm sorry, right now I have only the numbers from the new constructions. As I mentioned, this study about the heat sector in Germany is brand new, and I do not know all the slides. I haven't seen them, but I'm sure that we can extract this information and we'll give the answer soon.
So the report on the heat transition in Germany will be published next week. So our colleagues are still working on all the details. But again, here we'll send you some information. What was that, Raffaele, for renovations?
All right, it is interesting definitely to not only look at the new build but also the renovation segment. But so looking forward to getting news about this new report coming up.
Sure.
All right, we only have a couple of questions left at the moment. So and there maybe could be a wrap up. What do you see in terms of regulatory issues in Germany for self-consumption?
For self-consumption?
Yes.
Well, obviously, further tax exemptions for self-generated or for the usage of self-generated electricity will further push the market here. But at the moment, we don't see any initiative from the German government to cut taxes in this case. So obviously, a lot of targets have been missed, a lot of mistakes have been made. At the moment, I haven't seen anything currently broadcasted by the government that they're going to cut or going to introduce any further tax exemptions. So this is obviously a little bit of blind spot within the government, who've been, well, dealing with other problems at the moment, to be fair.
Okay, and perhaps connected to this, how important do you still see the EEG feed-in for PV system? Is it still a necessary condition for making economic sense?
Not necessarily, no. So obviously the systems that were installed in 2000 and the first couple of years, they're obviously going to benefit from the feed-in tariff, and from there on it doesn't make any economical sense to have a storage system installed before their systems run out of the feed-in tariff. The majority, or as we see it, 80% of all storage installations are with new systems, and only 20% with retrofit. We do have information, again here, if anyone wants information, please get in touch. We do have some slides where we sort of explain the different, what we define it as 4 different phases of energy storage. One is the systems that will run out of the feed-in tariff by 2020 onwards for the first couple of years, who it makes sense to have a storage system installed. Then we have those that benefit from the self-consumption bonus, and then we have, obviously, is one of the newest phase is those that have installed their systems sort of from 2013, 2014 onwards, who get a small feed-in tariff but will basically benefit from self-consumption more, and who will only feed into the grid the electricity that they don't consume.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we can conclude. There is one last question that I had overlooked, and it's about the price of smart meters, and it's a clarification. So the cost for the customer for a smart meter is 100 euros a year in one of the categories, but for how many years? This is the fixed price or over a fixed time, or can you explain how this works?
Again, here we'd have to check that. It's just the premium, or sorry, the caps that we found online. This is also part of our survey, but of our report, sorry, but we don't have any details on that at this point.
Okay, and with this, I think we can conclude the webinar. So I would like to thank you very much for your insightful presentations and your expertise, and thank all the attendees for their interest in the topic. And of course, we are looking forward to seeing you and welcoming you next week in Munich. Again, you can find the agenda of next week's conference in the handouts, together with the slides that have been showed today, and as well as I repeat, the recording of the webinar will be available on our website of SolarPower Europe. So thanks again to everybody, and I wish you a pleasant rest of the day. Thank you very much.